back with another episode of To the Moon. And in this episode, I got one of my favorite folks here. Great guy in the AstroFlipping community, Mr. Uche. What's up, man? Welcome to the moon.
Thanks for having me, Jamil. It's an honor to be on the show with you. And the first thing I gotta say is, you've done a fantastic job with this community, just creating this environment for so much growth to happen for so many people. It's truly amazing,
Well,
and
I appreciate
I,
that,
I
my
have a
man.
lot of respect for you, man.
Well, I respect you as well. You know, what's really beautiful for me, and being able to spearhead and creating this community is all the people who have been able to come through and have taken action and made it happen, right? And you're one of those guys. And so I really want to just kind of hear your story from
Yeah.
jump, right? So you how did you even find wholesale real estate? What were you doing before? Tell us a little bit about you.
Okay, so I'm from Calgary, just like you. So, growing up in Calgary, grew up in a family with immigrants my parents came from Nigeria. So hard work, going to school, education was prime on the subject, right? So you had to go to university. You had to become a doctor, lawyer, or an engineer.
Tell me about
So
it.
you know, I've heard you talking about this, so you know exactly what I'm
I
talking
sure
about.
do.
Those expectations are kind of brought into you and just kind of hammered into you. So that was one of the things growing up is really trying to find that professional career, and I did those things. I used to love playing basketball, but the education was more important to my folks, so I became a petroleum engineer. And growing up in Calgary, I'm sure half of the city is working in the oil and gas
Oil and
industry.
gas, yes, sir.
Yeah. So I was doing that, and I was doing pretty good. I wasn't, super successful. I had an opportunity to join a small company in Calgary, and we actually ended up selling that asset to a Norwegian oil company, and I stayed with that Norwegian oil company for another 8 years. And during the whole oil sands kind of political thing that was happening in Alberta, I decided to move down to Houston. And so I took my family, moved down to Houston, and this began a process where I got relocated maybe 6 times in 5 years. And so after that, my wife is like, "What's happening here? Why are we getting relocated every few months?" And we had a lot of, um, transition. And so that's when it really kind of opened my eyes to, hey, maybe this isn't what I'm looking for. Maybe this isn't the dream that was kind of told to me that this is the way to go. Because I didn't have any control of, what was going to happen to myself and my family. So that's really when I started kind of exploring and looking at different options.
Amazing. So I totally resonate with everything you have to say. I mean, come from the same kind of background, and my parents also were very much fed the idea and the concept that you're the only way your kid's going to get anything out of life is if they become a professional, doctor, lawyer, engineer. Anything else is worthless. So I understand the pressures, and I also understand the culture of Calgary. Growing up an immigrant in Calgary, although it's a beautiful city, in the 80s and 90s, there was a lot of tension. It was a weird place to be, just because of Calgary's roots were very European, and when people were coming from India and Africa and other spots, it was not we weren't welcomed initially, right? I think that's definitely changed. Canada is a very multicultural country, and they've been super welcoming to so many diverse communities, and I'm proud of that heritage in being from Canada and Calgary. But you're in Houston, Texas. You're getting relocated everywhere. How did you even handle this immigration process? Like, how are you now a U.S. citizen, or what's that look like for you?
Yeah, so during that process of coming down here, they ended up closing down the Calgary office. So I went to my boss and I was like, "Hey, what's the plan? What's the plan for us being down here?" And he's like, "No, we want you down here. We got some projects that are ongoing." So they basically worked on getting my paperwork. So I have a green card. I don't have citizenship yet, but I have the green card. So I'm working down here. I've been down here for almost 9 years now. Just working,
Awesome.
transitioned to a different company. So in those moves back and forth from Calgary to Houston, I ended up moving to Austin, and we were in Austin for 8 years. And one of our neighbors that we lived close to, he was a hard money lender, and so he would always
Wow.
have, parties at his house and things. And me and my wife, we're really social. We get into everyone's business sometimes, but we like to, just socialize and meet people that are doing interesting things, right? And so
Sure.
this family, Ryan Jones, it's his name. He works for this company, Life Changing Lending, and we just asked him, what do you do for work? And he just
Mhm.
started explaining the process, and that's when I found out about real estate in the U.S., and it's totally different than in
Oh,
Canada.
big time. I mean,
Yeah,
first of all, hard money lending isn't even legal in Canada.
yeah,
You can't do it. It's called usury in Canada. So high interest short term loans are they classify it as predatory lending in Canada, whereas in the United States, I mean, for the most part, most real estate transactions that are flips or short term bridge loans, things like that for multifamily and commercial assets happen with these short term high interest loans to help investors bridge the gap between acquisition and disposition. And
yeah,
so it's very useful to have access to funds for high yield projects, even if the interest rate's 12, 13%, because if you can generate a huge lift from repositioning a value add asset and you can make money and the lender can make money and you can provide more inventory for the housing market or a better
yeah,
experience in terms of the commercial asset, then all the power to you, right? So I think it's phenomenal that this exists in the United States. It brings liquidity to our entire industry. And
yeah,
so, when I look at when I was a wholesaler in Canada, the hardest thing was financing, right? Most people had that we would wholesale. I was wholesaling to builders specifically, but you couldn't really wholesale to a small investor unless they were cash, right? Because they wouldn't have short term private lending or hard money lending, asset based lending to liquidate the deal. So, of course, doing what we do here in the United States is just so much easier because of access to capital. So you get introduced to hard money lending, you learn
yeah.
about this world. So what positions you into wholesaling?
So that's a great question. I started going down the rabbit hole of bigger pockets and just looking into that. And I, I forget exactly what happened, but then I think I signed up for a course at a local RIA. And so I went into this Texas RIA, and these guys, they come and do a presentation, and they started talking about wholesaling, like as an option of how to get into real estate. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, wait a minute, this doesn't sound real. So in this course, they try to corner you so that you can sign up and be part of the RIA. And I was one of the only people that said, no, I need to learn a little bit more about this, and it just didn't feel right. There was something going on in the group, and it just didn't feel authentic. So I just said no, and I started doing more research, and I came across you. I came across Brett Daniels and Jerry Norton as well.
Yep.
And so
three
when I
three
started, yeah,
three greats in the business. Yep.
absolutely. And so then I started listening to the podcast. So I started listening to your podcast that you guys all have. And that's where it started coming. And then I started to understand. And then also just the way that you guys, communicate and explain, the business, it really resonated with me. And I could feel that, hey, this is a place where I could come in, meet like-minded people, and start working and start building something. It didn't seem like you guys were just gonna take the community for granted and just kind of build something without the community. It felt like you guys were helping people discover what this is and what the opportunities was. And so that's when I just kind of pushed forward. I started with AstroBlaster, and then I came into AstroFlipping, and then it just started escalating from there.
Amazing. So let's talk about the success that you've had in the industry.
Yeah.
How's it been going for you?
I mean, I won't lie, I started fast, but then the reality is I'm working full time and then
Yep.
doing this part time. So the
Yep.
realities of the consistent lead generation is really where I'm falling down. But I think
Yep.
overall the education and the knowledge is there. It's just having that commitment to my KPIs, and this is something that you learn inside your course, which is absolutely fundamental to progressing. I think is understanding what are the things that stop you from achieving your goals. And I've been able to identify that. I know my job is a big one, right? My family responsibilities, another thing. And then there's things that always pop up. So my family, my parents were in Calgary. Recently, my mom had some health issues and we had to move her to Toronto. That took up about a month of my time just coordinating things on their behalf. They're getting a little bit older, so being able to do that, and that has really affected, the way I'm running my business. But other than that, with the foundation that I had from your course, and then the tools that I have with AstroBlasters, I found that I was still in the game. So I'm still
And you can
getting
have a
leads.
full-time job.
Yes.
You can have a full-time job, still handle the responsibilities of your family. And I think that's one of the most important
Yeah.
things to highlight here, right? Is that people, they feel like, okay, if I'm going to do this, I got to abandon my W2 job and go all in. And look, for some people, if you're a back against the wall, all or nothing, Hail Mary kind of human being,
Yeah.
sure, right? If burning the boats is the only way that you're gonna be able to make sure that you're gonna stay on the island that you're wanting to build a life on, burn the boats. But I don't suggest it, right? I think that you have to maintain stability. We can't really think about how to actualize our dreams if we're worried about how to pay the mortgage, right? Like it's just not realistic for a lot of people. So, keeping your W2 job is great because it gives you the consistent money to come in, and so you can handle the business of the family. But now you've got this side business that's generating a substantial amount of money for you, and allows you to have maybe better vacations or not have debt or whatever that is. And so, what was the first deal like for you?
So the first deal was 30 days after I started AstroFlipping. I basically you assigned me Bryson. He was my accountability person, my contact, and he said, "What's your goals?" And I basically said, "I need a deal yesterday." And he's like,
Mm-hmm.
"Let's go." And we just took action. I basically outlined what I was capable of doing day to day, and he just kept me accountable. I kept going through my KPIs and just doing that specific work. So I was using Privy. I was using Privy and I was using AstroBlaster. And so I'd get leads from agents and comp them, go on your calls, comp them, and then submit offers. And after some time, there was an agent that I reached out to. They had a house under contract, and something fell through. And so basically, we had done the work together where we comped the property, and you said, "Yeah, go and
I
offer
remember that
210."
one.
Go
Yep.
and offer 210, and I had it locked up for, I think it was 205. And so you're like, sell it. You told me to sell it. So I ended up partnering with your Keegley franchise in Houston for that one. And we went to sell that deal. And you won't believe, everyone talks about your first deal, things going sideways on it.
Oh
On this
yeah, it's gonna
one,
be chaos.
yeah, it happened to me. So this one, everything was going well. We found the buyer, we locked in the buyer, but there was some foundation issues with the house, and they
Okay.
had this warranty for the work. So during our due diligence periods, we called that company to make sure that the warranty was intact. That company did not exist.
Oh no.
That company
Oh,
did not exist. So we ended up having to cancel that contract. But your franchisee, she was just like, we're not letting this go. We are going to get this under contract. So we were contracted under 205. She went back, contracted it, I think 170.
Got it reduced. Yep.
Got it reduced, and we sold it to the same buyer now with the reduced price, and we were able to move on. We made about, I think it was $12,000 on that first deal. So I
Amazing.
split that with the Kikuli franchise, which was
Awesome.
awesome.
Awesome. So I'm
Yeah.
sure $6,000 coming into the household was a nice proof of concept for you and your wife. And, gave you a little bit of confidence that, hey, look, this is real money. It's in the account. Let's go buy some ice cream with it, whatever it is. We know it's real. They'll take it at the grocery store. It's in our bank.
Yes,
This is
sir.
amazing.
Yes, sir.
How's it been since? I know, obviously you've got life and things happening, but have you had any more success?
Yeah, I have. So in the new year, I was going hard. So just after that deal closed, my wife just like boom, it came to her. She's just like, this is what you're looking for. This is what you need. And she's like, let's do this. Let's do this. And my wife, she knows Sharan. And so Sharan
For
absolutely loves
context,
you.
Sharan is somebody that I grew up with from childhood. So she's talking about one of my childhood friends. I used to sleep over at this guy's house. I mean, like, I friends with his brother, his sister, rest in peace, like incredible family, wonderful, 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 wonderful people, right? Sharan is one of the like best guys I knew as a kid. So she knew Sharan. So she was like, "Tell me about this guy. Is he like legit? what's
No,
happening?"
I told her that I was talking to Sharan and he knows you, and we saw a YouTube video of you and you were posting your University of Calgary degrees, and you're like, this is trash, and we were laughing. And so she's like, Jamil's the right person for you. You need to get going on this. So she just really supported me.
I
And
don't even know
so
where the degree is, honestly. Like, it's like it's so meaningless to me, right? It means so little to me that I don't even know where the document is.
That's so
It's
funny. Yeah, I love that video of you showing those degrees and just
My
what
mom
is
hates
this?
it. My mom hates that video. She's just like,
Oh,
because for even though my mom does, she's got the best life, right? Like
yeah,
my sister and I take great care of her and my father, but again, to an immigrant, the university and or college as they refer to it here in the States,
yeah.
it's just so important, right? So great. So you've gotten some more deals.
Yeah, so in the new year I got two under contract. One of them I had to end up canceling.
Okay,
But the other
happens.
one, the other one I partnered with another Astro student, so Brittany,
Yes.
Fairman. Yeah. We partnered on that deal, and that one was interesting too. We didn't have any cancellations or anything like that, but it was a lease back. So it was the first time I went through that process. And the agent was a little, I don't know, a little had some anxiety about the whole
Yeah.
situation. Yeah.
As some will, right? Because
Mhm.
at the end of the day, what we do is contract law, right? What we do
Yeah.
is how businesses operate at a high level in some very sophisticated corporate structures, right? Assignments of contracts happen all the time. In fact, I did a deal with DR Horton where they assigned a portion of what I had sold to them to another builder. They essentially wholesaled a piece of the property that I sold to them, and they used the money from that to close on their parcel, right? And I'm like, wow, this is a publicly traded company.
Yeah.
This is a publicly traded company wholesaling a contract. And so at a sophisticated high level, publicly traded companies are wholesaling, and they understand the value of being able to sell a contract, to sell an opportunity. And the builder that bought it from DR Horton went and built these beautiful townhomes and made money, and DR Horton had their piece and they built beautiful townhomes and made money, and everybody was happy. And I made a little bit of money on that deal. I could have made a lot more money, but we kind of messed it up. I held it for too long, and that's a long story, but I got a lot of learning out of that, right? And so
Yeah.
at the end of the day, what we do here is highly legal. Of course, there is some states like South Carolina is about to put some heavy restrictions on wholesaling because what they're trying to do in some realtor organizations is stop wholesaling from happening. because they feel like it's competitive to real estate agents, right? And the reason why they believe it's competitive to real estate agents is because people are selecting to do business with other people who understand what they're doing versus an agent. Now, at the end of the day, a 6% commission that ends up getting paid to a selling agent and a buying agent is oftentimes way more money than what a wholesaler makes doing what we do. And so at the end of the day, especially for the kind of properties that we buy, it's to a seller's advantage to work with a wholesaler than it is to go and try and sell this thing on the open market to people who don't understand the financing associated with these types of properties. And so we are a great solution for that kind of situation or opportunity. But because real estate agents aren't educated on it, and I think that's changing. I think that people like myself, Pace Morby, Brent Daniels, Jerry Norton, what we're doing is we're elevating the business model to a place of integrity. Because what's happened in the past is that because there's not a lot of regulation in our business, well, and regulation is coming in sporadically, but still very slowly. They feel like there could be a potential for abuse. And have there been situations where people were taken advantage of? Absolutely. Is that atrocious? Absolutely. Do we stand for that? Hell no. We believe in giving a seller as much money as possible given the situation of the house, right? I pay 100% of as is value. Now, how much a property is worth once I make an investment into it and force appreciation, that's my risk. And so the reward is also mine, right? When I'm buying an opportunity that needs $100,000 in renovations, there's no guarantee that I'm going to make money on this thing.
Exactly.
I've lost money flipping houses. I absolutely have. And at the end of 2022, I had to write around $500,000 worth of checks for flips that went bad because the market turned on me and interest rates spiked and everything kind of slowed down and we had to get out of these flips. And so that happens. And again, at the end of the day, when you're in our world, there's risk and reward. When we're talking to a homeowner or working with an agent who has a distressed property, well, if they want to find the reward, if they want to force the appreciation themselves, then they can do that. But oftentimes what happens is the people in these situations that allow these houses to get to that condition, they don't even have the money to do that. Yeah. So they just need to get like as much money as possible for their property in its current state. That's why working with a guy like you is a very, very, very good thing. So Brittany Berryman, she's an incredible human being. I absolutely love her. Don't ever challenge her to an arm wrestle because she will rip your arm off.
Okay.
But she's incredibly talented at what she does. She's one of those stars in the Astro community. I think she built like a $2 million house out in Texas from the money that she's made in AstroFlipping, which again to me is just like amazing. what a gift, right? What a gift the community has been to so many people, and to be able to work with you, somebody from my hometown that is now wholesaling, making money. You have so many connections to my old story and my old world. I go back to Calgary now every month to visit my daughter, and so I'm there in that city all the time. I love it very much. And it's so good to see you thriving, and it's so good to see that you've got your feet grounded in this business. If there's somebody that's out there right now that doesn't live in the United States or is thinking about getting involved in wholesaling in the U.S., what would you tell them?
I mean, I would tell them to seriously consider what we have going on here. This community that you built, there's so much trust in this community. There's so many people with so much knowledge about what's happening in the industry. I had a question the other day, and I just reached out to the community. I had over, 10 people reach out to me to try to help me with the situation. So one thing that I've learned just during the course of life is you always try to go to someone who's, maybe 2 or 3 steps ahead of you. And I feel like the people in this community are genuine, and they're 2 or 3 steps ahead of me. and I can come to the community and trust that I'm going to get that information. Obviously, you have to do your due diligence, so don't just blindly listen to what I have to say. But I really suggest that you go and team up, just like you guys say all the time, squad up with people that are doing what you want to do. Yeah, squad up.
Check it out.
Squad
Yeah,
up.
absolutely.
Is that from the
It's
summit?
yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes.
I missed out on that big
Oh,
time.
how much FOMO do you got for that?
I have so much FOMO, so much FOMO.
It
Like
is.
I wanted to meet Jason Lee out there. He's
It.
another
I'm
one from
telling
the
you,
community.
Uche, man. I don't know how we're gonna make Squad Up Summit 2025. It was so epic, bro. Like it's like I don't even know how to even put it into words. It was one of those like transcendent, times for me where I got to really see the effect of what Pace Morby and myself and Brent and Jerry have been able to accomplish in this community, and having the gift of Grant Cardone coming and helping, and Cody Sanchez coming and helping out, and Donald Miller coming and helping out was just beautiful. But I can promise you this, with the genius of Pace, with the hard work and heart that I bring to the table, I know that 2025 is going to be a stellar situation. So we're actually going to start pre-selling those tickets pretty soon, because we know it's going to be bigger than 24. We know that it's going to be better than 24. And we know that it's going to sell out faster than we did in 24, because we proved it. We proved that we can create an epic experience for people. So when we do bring those out, make sure you jump in and come hang out with us in 25. I don't know where it's going to be, but wherever it will be dope.
Yeah, I'll be there for sure, 100%.
Uche, how do people do business with you? You're doing business primarily in Texas. What are your markets?
Yeah, primarily in Texas. So I'm working Houston, Austin, and then DFW. Instagram is probably the best way to get at me, and that's at CCV underscore 2023. Or you can call me 469 746 5951.
Say that one more
Reach out.
time. You cut out just for a sec. Say it one more
Okay,
time.
yeah, 469 746 5951.
Awesome. Bobby Cotta, it's on the screen. There you have it, guys.
Yeah,
That's his
on my
Instagram handle at CCV underscore 2023. His phone number is on the screen. Make sure you reach out to Uche if you've got any business in Texas. Uche, congratulations on the success, brother. I'm excited to see where you go with this. Give your wife my regards. I'm proud of you, man, and I can't wait to meet you in person.
Thank you so much, Jamil. I appreciate all the time you spent, pouring back into this community. I appreciate you so much.